In this video, I'll talk about RFPs and SOWs and explain how they work together so that you can get better repair bids and estimations to fit all of your projects. When property managers or investors use both an RFP and SOW, they can get clear, fair bids from great vendors, even for tricky projects. And that makes it easier and cheaper to find the right person to get the job done. If you're new to my channel, my name is Rodivia Brigham, and I'm the CEO and founder of Proposabid, a service provider specializing in sourcing 4 or more competitive apples-to-apples bids and estimations for property repairs. So let's dive in and see how you can use RFPs and SOWs to make your jobs easier. We're going to cover 4 important objectives that will help you understand the key differences between RFPs and SOWs, what they do and how they're different, and why both are so important in the bidding process. Then we'll address common challenges by looking at why some people avoid using RFPs and how they impact the quality of bids that they get. Then we'll examine current practices to understand why many rely only on the SOW and the limitations of that approach. Finally, we'll discover the power of combining both RFP and SOWs to create better communication, clearer bids, and smarter decisions. Before we jump in, let's take a look at some numbers. Did you know that people working on proposals often spend a lot of time, sometimes over 40 hours a week, just to write RFPs? It's like a full-time job. Also, in construction and maintenance, about 43% of RFPs actually win the job. But here's the cool part. When teams use good RFP processes, some of them win almost every time, 80 to 100%. And for property owners, attracting the right vendors to get the job done is what's important. That shows how planning the right way can really help both property managers and contractors. So, how could having a clear and structured RFP process help you save time and get better repair bids? And what kinds of problems could be avoided if RFPs were used to clearly explain your needs to vendors? So let's go over some common questions about RFPs and SOWs. First, why don't property managers or investors use RFPs more often? We'll explore the reasons behind that. Next, what happens if you only use a SOW for bids? We'll talk about the risks and why it might not be enough. Then, how does using an RFP and a SOW save time? We'll explain how they work together to make things clearer and faster. Finally, can the use of mixing an RFP and SOW improve your repair bids? They can. We'll show you how this combo can help you get better choices and results. So let's take a look at where RFPs and SOWs come into play in the entire bidding process. While the staff handles everything from phone calls and emails to incoming bid comparisons, corrections, approvals, and awards, the RFP and SOW actually come before all of that. They are the foundation to the process, setting everything up for success. This is the marketing step, the part that staff might not have the time or expertise to handle. A well-crafted RFP happens long before those calls and emails are sent. It sets the tone, determines the quality of vendor responses, and ultimately ensures that repairs are done right. Without it, the rest of the process can fall apart. To start off, we'll speak to 4 key topics. This is to help you better understand RFPs and SOWs and how they work together. First, we'll explain the difference between an RFP and a SOW, and what they are and how they're used. Next, we'll talk about why some property managers don't use the RFPs at all and the challenges that come with creating one. Then we'll explore why many managers rely on SOWs instead of RFPs and how that approach might limit their options. Finally, we'll show you how using RFPs and SOWs together can help you get more bids and better results. RFPs and SOWs might seem like modern tools, but their roots actually go back to the Industrial Revolution. During that time, businesses and governments started managing large, complex projects like building railroads and factories. They needed a way to clearly communicate what needed to be done and how to do it. That's where these two ideas came from. An RFP, or request for proposal, is what it's known by, focuses on what. It's the formal way to say, here's what we need. Tell us how you'd like to do it and what it would cost. This became especially important during large-scale constructions and manufacturing projects, where clear communication was key in avoiding costly mistakes. On the other hand, a SOW, or a scope of work of what it's known by, gets into the details, the how. It's a guide that explains exactly what steps to take and what materials to use and the standards for getting the job done right. Without a good SOW, even the best proposals might miss the mark because the expectations aren't clear. The combination of these tools allow businesses to manage projects more efficiently and ensure that vendors and contractors delivered exactly what was needed. Fast forward to today, and they're still critical for everything from property repairs to launching new products because they ensure that everyone, managers, vendors, and contractors, is on the same page from the start. So let's talk about why property managers or on-site staff might not use RFPs. First, creating an RFP can seem like a lot of work. Staff members are already busy managing day-to-day tasks, dealing with repairs and handling tenant concerns. Adding one more thing to their plate, especially something they don't fully understand, can feel overwhelming. They might think, I don't have time for this. Another reason is that RFPs can seem complicated or unnecessary. Many staff members don't know what an RFP is or why it is helpful. They might assume RFPs are only for really big jobs like remodeling an entire building and not something you use for smaller repairs. Without understanding how it helps, they may skip it altogether. Sometimes it's just about trust. If staff already work with a vendor they know, they might skip an RFP because they feel confident the vendor will handle things. But here's the problem. By not using an RFP, they miss the chance to compare bids from other vendors who might offer better prices or better quality. When staff don't know much about repairs, RFPs feel like a waste of time instead of a tool that makes their job easier. But if they understood how RFPs set clear expectations and save money in the long run, they'd see them as a smart way to make repairs more efficient and less stressful. So let's talk about why property managers often rely on SOWs instead of RFPs. One big reason is that SOW is usually already provided to them. Vendors or even city and state agencies often supply a scope of work when they're involved in a project. So it's easier for property managers and investors to use what's handed to them rather than create an RFP from scratch. Another reason is that a SOW might be the only document they have when reaching out to vendors. Without knowing the difference between a SOW and an RFP or the value of using both, investors and property managers tend to stick with what's available. They might not realize that while a SOW explains how to do the job, it doesn't bring in competitive bids like an RFP would. This reliance on SOWs often happens because managers are trying to save time or don't have the training to see the benefits of an RFP. But using only a SOW can limit their options and make it harder to get the best price or the best work for the job. The importance of combining RFPs and SOWs. Using an RFP and a SOW together is like having the best of both worlds when it comes to getting bids for projects. The RFP sets the stage by clearly telling vendors what needs to be done and inviting them to provide their best ideas and prices. The SOW then drives into the details, explaining exactly how the work should be done. Together, they create a complete picture that makes it easier for vendors to give accurate and competitive bids. Relying only on SO, however, can make things more challenging. It doesn't invite multiple vendors to compete for the job, which can mean fewer options and higher costs. With only SO, you might miss out on finding the best value or quality for your project. By combining both tools, you can set clear expectations, attract higher quality vendors, and get bids that are easy to compare, ensuring the project is completed efficiently and effectively. As a wrap up to the 4 points on mastering RFPs and SOWs, let's keep it simple. Combining RFPs and SOWs doesn't have to be complicated, and it starts with just a few steps. First, identify what needs to be repaired or done. Know the project goals. Then, write an RFP to outline those goals clearly. Next, develop a detailed SOW to explain how the work should be done. Once you have both, share them with vendors and get feedback, which should come in the form of conversations and in the comparable bids you receive. Based on the clarity of their responses, the price, and the quality that they can deliver, you will have a good gauge on how well your RFPs and SOWs are attracting the right vendors for the job. By following these steps, you'll set yourself up for smoother projects, better bids, and more successful outcomes. So let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've covered today. The combination of RFP and SOW is more than just paperwork. It's a powerful tool for creating clarity, saving time, and improving outcomes in property repairs. RFPs help you cast a wide net to bring in competitive bids, while SOWs ensure everyone understands exactly how the work should be done. Together, they create a process that is transparent, efficient, and professional. We've talked about why RFPs aren't always used, whether it's because of time constraints, lack of familiarity, or trust in a single vendor. And we've also seen how relying solely on SOWs can limit options and create challenges. By combining these tools, you can overcome these barriers, set clear expectations, and attract the best vendors for the job. Whether you're dealing with a small repair or a large-scale project, the hybrid approach of using both RFPs and SOWs can make all the difference. It's about working smarter, not harder, and ensuring that your repairs are done right, on time, and within budget. As you move forward, remember the simple steps we outlined to start implementing these processes, because the effort you invest up front will pay off in a smoother projects and better results. If you enjoyed this video, then check out the next one, where I break down the lack of standardization in property repair requests for bids. We'll explore why not having a standard approach with RFPs and SOWs can create confusion and make it harder to compare bids from different vendors. We'll talk about issues like unclear requests, challenges with new staff, and how different vendors might see projects differently. Finally, we'll show you how having a clear standardized process helps improve communication, ensuring more accurate and comparative bids from vendors. And don't forget to scan the QR code for a free strategy call to explore how you can prevent loss, save millions, and focus on what matters. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.